Nothing to do on a Saturday night. All my friends are so out of sight. Went to the kitchen for an evening snack. The fridge was empty, so I sat right back.
Hi, I'm Eileen Bild. I'm with OTEL Talk, and I am so excited to have Bill Ricci with us today. He's a dear old friend from Jacksonville, where we have done filming with him. He's a singer-songwriter. He's got a 5-star rating. He's been in the music industry a long time. So welcome, Bill.
Yeah, a long time. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So we've known each other quite a while. We've had many conversations over the years. Of course, we've done some filming for you.
Right.
And you're recently ISSA, International Singer-Songwriter Association nominee. So I think I want to start with just a little background, your history in music, some of the highlights, and then we'll get into what's going on now.
Oh, now here we go. Back in 1964.
That's a little while ago.
Yeah, I was one of those kids that stood in front of the black and white television and watched the Beatles. And I said, you can't be serious. Do you mean to tell me that if I learn to play the guitar, that women are going to scream and pass out? That didn't happen. But from there, and then being the teenager and growing up with that music in the 60s and the 70s, with all the different styles of music, and I said, wow, this is pretty crazy. And it was like you had the need to know now. You had the need to know. You had to file, we couldn't be patient enough to wait for people, music publishers like Sony and Warner Brothers, to print the sheet music out, because it would take 6 months.
Oh, wow.
We wanted to play Smoke on the Water right now. Right. And then when I did the first gig, of course, you're nervous, and you want to make sure you're doing everything right. And then it's like a snake bite. Once you get bit, you're not going to forget it.
Right.
And it's just been that roller coaster all the way up. Into the 70s, I was on tour with a larger band, and that was the opportunity was right. And I said, well, I'm going to try it. And I was on the road for about a year, and I decided, no, it's not that particular thing is not my lifestyle. Plus, I like having a little control over myself or the situation at hand. So it went on, and I said, you know what? I'm done. Because the bus got smaller the longer we were in it.
Got it.
When you're dealing with 6 musicians, and then the road manager, and then the bus driver, and then whoever else may have been in the bus,
right?
It got smaller the longer we were in the thing. Fortunately, I got to meet so many people that I never thought I would ever meet. My favorite happened to be Wolfman Jack, who I got to, WABC out of New York. Wolfman would come on, and I was playing in West Palm Beach at the time, and we did 2 shows a night. And in between, I had almost an hour to kill. So I would walk out amongst the people and talk to them, and I went over to the bar, and the bartender looked at me and says, you're the guitar player, aren't you? And I go, yeah. He says, it sounds great. He says, would you like something to drink? And I said, yeah, I'll have a beer. I'm not going to mention brands. I'll have a beer. So I sat down at the bar, and there was a gentleman sitting next to me, dressed in black. He had this black bolero hat on, and he was sitting with his hand covering his mouth and his face. And there's that situation where you just turn, somebody's there, so you just turn to him and just nod. And I looked at him, and it was Wolfman Jack.
Wow.
And I looked at him, and I said, Wolfman, what are you doing here in West Palm Beach? And honestly, I was so excited that, I listened to Cousin Brucey, Murray the K out of New York, and the Wolfman. And of course, later on, he did the Midnight Special and things like that. And it was hilarious. And I said, he sounds the same in person as he did on the radio, on the television, he'd had that growl, hey baby, what's happening? He had that voice, you know.
Right,
But he
right.
was hosting a Jan and Dean show at the Hollywood Sportatorium back then. And he needed to catch the red eye. And the next flight out was West Palm Beach. So he stopped in thinking he was going to have a drink. It was just pure coincidence. And here I am sitting talking to Wolfman Jack. And I met Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones and just so many different people.
Well, you and I have had lots of conversations, and I've always thought, you know, this is one person who's always been in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And has had some pretty extraordinary experiences.
Something follows me around.
Right, somebody's like wants
How
you
did you-
on that music path.
It's like when I would, it still happens today, when I book certain things, and you know, because of social media, sometimes you put on there where you're doing and where you're going, and I would meet up with some other musicians, and they go, how did you end up playing in Memphis? And then you ended up playing at Ground Zero in Clarksdale, Mississippi, home of the Delta Blues. How did you end? Who's booking you? And, you know, and I said, me. I get on the phone. I don't text message this. This is important stuff. I'm not going to sit there and fool around with the telephone. You want to get something done? You got to get something done. Get on the phone, make your contacts, show that you're a professional and you're a business, that you're not working out of your living room, and then off it goes. And be assertive about the professionalism that you've got. You know, be proud of what you're doing, and let everybody know that, you know, oh, okay, you know, hey, you sound like you know what you're doing. Let's go ahead and do this, you know. The next thing I know, here I am on Beale Street in Memphis, playing at the historic tap room, and I go, wow. And then they were calling me. I was sitting, I'll never forget, it was a Sunday at 7:30 at night. I'm watching TV, I'm in the big chair, and I'm relaxing. The phone rings, and it's a manager up there, an agent, that books all of Beale Street.
Wow.
And he's calling me. Hey, he says, hey Bill, can you do this day, that day? And of course, that ended up me going down through Mississippi and then playing at Ground Zero, which, the interesting thing about that is that I've always loved the Delta Blues. The Texas Blues, the Chicago Blues, it's all good. But there was something that always intrigued me about the Delta Blues. So I worked a good, honest 2 months trying to figure out what it is I'm missing. Because back then there were very simple people.
Right.
And I said, what am I not doing? So using the internet, I found somebody who is a professional with playing the resonators. And he explained one thing about the Delta Blues. He says, no matter what you do, if you're using a slide, if you're chording, if you're playing individual notes, you have to keep a rhythm constantly going. And I went, pause. I ran to the other end of the house and grabbed the resonator and a slide, and I came running on my back and I hit it. I go, what did that do? And I said, oh, for goodness sakes, it was the obvious. And then I got on that stage, and my wife says, are you ready? Do you know what you're doing? Because these people in Clarksdale, Mississippi, at Ground Zero, I mean, how many, the icons have been on that stage.
Right.
They don't wash the stage. It's like the Ryman Auditorium. They never wash it. They sweep it, but they never wash it, because that's where they stood.
Right.
And my wife said, are you ready for this? I said, yeah, I guess so. And but inside, my heart's going, you know, 180. And I finally got up there. And it wasn't until about halfway through the first song, because there were people from overseas, Denmark, France, whatever. The place was packed. And I said, oh my goodness, feet don't fail me now, you know. And halfway through that first song, when I heard the crowd egging me on, that's what I needed. And from that moment, I knew I had it. All that studying I did for those 2 months, constantly beating it, paid off. And it just worked. So I always tell everybody, you know, it's one thing to hone what you do, but, you know, you got to get out there where the rubber hits the road and listen to the people. Don't go in there with a forced set. Like, I'm going to do this. I don't use set lists. I did when with the bands and stuff like that, because you communicate with your drummer and everybody else better. But I would still to this day, I do not use set lists, because as I'm performing for people, whether it's my original songs or whether it's cover songs, they have to, they've got to be able to accept it. So I'm listening to this, listening to the people, the reaction, and I say, okay, they like that. Let me swing my set this way. So fortunately, it's just me.
Well, you made a point when we were talking earlier about how most of the gigs, if not all gigs that you play these days, you go in as an unknown.
Right.
And so you talked about how important it is to connect with the audience as an unknown, so they think and see you and love your music as if you're this, big artist all over the
that
news.
started to happen when I started doing the festivals. Because when you're doing the festivals, it's all about you now. Now you can go ahead and play original music and see how it goes. Fortunately, what I write is old school. There's a verse, there's a chorus, there's the bridge. There's the verse, there's the chorus, there's the bridge. There's a format to it. And I use the old school format. So it's more pleasant for the people that are listening.
Right.
If you go on this tangent where you're playing two chords and you're just muttering something, it's not going to sink in with the people. You need the feedback.
Right.
So when I do the festivals, after I get done with the set, they come up to me and they're shaking my hand and it acclimates. And it's not an ego boost. Now it's a confidence boost. Now I know what I'm going to be doing, and I know how I need to be doing it, and whatever I'm doing it the right way.
Well, obviously.
Because I don't. People are calling me to book me. So
right. I remember, I don't know how many years ago, but we had a conversation, and you said, "Oh, I think I'm going to retire, and I'm done with music." And look at you now. So what happened from that conversation to where now you're booked out? What a year or two?
I blame it on the songwriting.
Okay.
Once you have to get over the hump, are people going to understand this? Or are they going to accept it? And with playing with the bands and things, whether it was the rock bands or the blues bands, with playing with those, you got yourself in a routine, and it's not healthy as a musician to keep playing the same locations over and over and over and over again, because you're going to get trapped. You're not going to grow.
Right.
So when you start doing all these things, and you start, you go, wait a minute, okay, let me start this up again. And all of a sudden, the retirement kind of went that way, and
right.
I went,
and you went that way,
and I went, I'm going that way, and get out of my way. And last year was insane, playing all throughout the state of Florida, and I ended up in Captiva Island, and then Gainesville, here, and the next thing I know, it was November, and I'm in South Carolina in Myrtle Beach playing. So you got to have that confidence, and when you start playing in front of people that have no earthly idea who you are, what you do, what they're about to take, it puts you on what's called your A game. Now you got to be good, because you want to hear that applause. It's a hunger frenzy. You want to hear it.
Well, it gives you confidence.
So you get on that A game, buddy, and you're just sailing.
Right. And so you're on your A game, and as a nominee for ISSA. International Singer-Songwriter Association Awards coming up. So let's see, you're nominated for Songwriter of the Year, Album of the Year, Male Vocalist, and Song of the Year. And you're also nominated for Americana Music Association, same and all the same. So tell me about that.
When it started to click, I remember you saying, while we were filming some things, I played the song called "The Willow."
Love that song.
And the old man that lives in this mountain area, and anyway, when you started asking me about this, and then you were putting something together, I think for your dad or something, and you wanted, can we do the Willow, and what does this mean, whatever. Then it started to make me think about what in the world it was I did. So
I made you think. Imagine
I said,
that.
You made me think. And my brain hurt. So after I did all that, then it got to be, if I did that and I've got that person's attention, and she only heard the song once or maybe twice at that moment, I go, for goodness sakes, I can do something that somebody can actually recognize, and or they can relate to, the old saying.
Right.
And that started the motivation to, how can I do this? How can I do that? Years and years ago, I wrote this song called "Crazy Dreams." That was my first little thing, and my dad loved it. He said, that's a good tune, and I perform it to this day. And that was, oh my God, so many years ago, back in the mid '70s somewhere. But when you perform, as far as when you perform at a local establishment, place that you've been there for a while, don't go in with all your stuff. These are working folks. They're stopping in they're having a drink, they're having a meal, whatever. Insert your original material with some cover songs, because they don't know who you are.
Right.
And if you're start a little at a time doing that, and then before you know it, now it seems strange to me to play cover songs. I've got to think about, I've played this song by the Eagles maybe 1,000 times. How did it go again? Because I'm too busy playing, all this stuff.
Right. So I was just thinking, there's a lot of older generation artists and musicians. What inspires you to keep going as part of that older generation and not feel like, I'm too old to do this, my time's running out? I see you're just like not stopping. What's inspiring you to keep going?
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards?
Yeah, he's 140 years old, I think, now.
Something like that.
Well, he seems like that anyway. No, but growing up with those icons, Paul McCartney, and Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, those guitar players, John Fogerty. When you heard those sounds, you ran right to. You knew who it was. You knew who it was just by the sound of the instrument. And that was just a lot to take in. So now I'm using all these tools that if my college professor ever saw me doing what I'm doing now, it would kill him.
Is he one of those people that said...
He was definitely by the book.
Right.
And I was in my early 20s. I was in a rock band. We were playing 6 nights a week. Hey, old man, what are you going to show me?
Right, renegade.
And I had a problem with that. And we went head to head many times. And he used to tell me, if you wouldn't be so damn thick-headed, you'd get what this is all about. Mm-hmm. So now
you get it?
Yeah, I get it. If he was alive, I'd call him. But
and say thank you.
I always thanks. My first guitar teacher and his name was Paul. This was back in the Bronx, and the last one, which was my college professor. In a way, I'm always thanking them.
Right.
I'm always thanking them. Yeah, especially the first one, because I had a hot rod guitar. I had to order it from Sears Roebuck. It cost me $21 of my birthday money. I wanted to play this thing. The Beatles were on their way. I thought I was going to be the fifth Beatle.
Oh.
In case one of them got sick, I can stand
then
in.
You can stand right.
Well, he laid it right down, and he says, "You can't handle these songs," which deflated the balloon.
Right.
So he gave me a Rolling Stones song. So my very first Rolling Stones song was "Paint It Black," and I said, "I don't like the Rolling Stones." I wanted to do the Beatles. What are you giving me here? I'm paying for this. Mm-hmm. But he got it in my head that you've got to do this.
He knew what you needed.
Yeah, before you can do that.
Right.
And those two at each end, knew how to rail me in when I'd start going out. And especially Cal, who was my last one in college, he knew how to handle me. And he knew that I knew I can do it.
Right. You just couldn't be hot-headed.
I had a problem of following the directions. Mm-hmm. Because when it came to the classical music, you've got to play it as written. Well, let's just say I had a habit of embellishing.
Oh. Okay.
Which I got.
I was going to say, you got in trouble for that.
Many times. But yeah, and then all that stuff is with me now. I do more. Eric Clapton said, when you play the guitar with your fingers, when you're doing fingerstyle work, it's a whole different door that opens up. And I went, oh, really? Then I got involved with playing the resonators, which really, that sharpened my skills. Really, a whole lot. So all that has come to a head at my age now.
Isn't that awesome?
And and that's what I think keeps the fire burning now, because it kind of went down for a while, because, you know, when you get into playing with the bands and everything, everybody thinks, well, it's only a 3-hour gig or a 4-hour gig. No, it's a 7.5, 8-hour adventure. You're not remembering that you had to pack all this stuff up. You had to get there. You had to spend 2 hours setting the whole thing on up, like you folks do with all your cameras.
I was going to say, we're right there with you.
Yeah. And you do this. You finally are going to play your 3 to 4 hour gig. Then you're going to pack everything up, travel back home again, unload everything. So that 3 to 4 hour gig is an 8-hour adventure.
Right.
And when you start monetarily looking at it, you go,
is that worth it?
They make more at McDonald's.
I know.
What am I doing here? This is wrong. But I was telling Trevor earlier that there was a gentleman, and I always tell you folks that the videos that you shot of me, and they were all like a closed set kind of a deal. But that's what I really wanted. Performance videos, they're always nice, but when you're trying to present yourself, it's good to get very clean, productive videos. I get more compliments, and I tell you folks this, I just got this gig, you know, the guys love the videos that you did, you know. And there's a reason for that, because, you know, a lot of people, they're so tied down to their cell phones. They think anything is going to sell you. No, I'm old school. You go cheap, you get cheap. That's it. If you're trying to promote yourself and you're trying to get yourself out there, the best thing you can do is get some good quality stuff. This gentleman that booked me, he says, I didn't have any idea how hard it was going to be to try to find somebody for this event. He says, I stumbled onto yours, and he says, wow, what a difference. He says, they're professionally done. I heard the sound. You sound great. And he says, and even when I booked you, now that I'm hearing you live, he says, you're even better than I thought you were. and he literally told somebody else, he honestly told them, do you listen to your own videos? You can't sing, pal. It's terrible. It's terrible to say something like that. But you got to have the drive in you. You got to have that enthusiasm. That I don't want to be a couch potato guitar player. So there's different musicians. I don't care what your instrument is.
Right.
Piano, harmonica, saxophone. I don't care what it is. There's a recreational player. And God bless you for that. If you just want to sit around and play yourself some tunes by the Eagles or Jimmy Buffett and have a good time around a campfire, that's absolutely fantastic. If you're going to try to make a career in it, you better step up.
Right. So saying step up, what would you say would be like key words of advice? Because it's a different game out there than when you started in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, it's a whole different game. Because now I'm sitting there and people got they got their phones out.
Right,
you know,
right.
They're watching me.
If someone's listening to this interview and they're like, I like this guy, you know, he sounds like he's got it together and he's really doing what I want to do, what kind of advice and steps would you suggest to make it in today's world in the music industry? Because it's crowded out there and it's tough.
Oh yeah, look the deal. Look the deal. Don't look like you just came back in from cutting the grass. Present yourself well. You don't have to have a monster killer sound system. You have to have an adequate one, but perform correctly. You know, these people, they want to hear the songs that they like, whether it's Phil Collins or whether it's, you know, Creedence Clearwater Revival, whatever it might be. And then start slowly, if you're a songwriter, start slowly inserting your songs and get some feedback. Because you're hearing you.
Right.
That's what you go by, is the people out there listening to you. Because you have an idea in your head this is what I'm going to do. Here it comes, and it's going to go over bad. And I've heard some club owners say, we're about ready to stop this music because people are getting bored. I
Right.
mean, you know, you're coming in here, you play this one particular thing, and it sounds like one continuous song. No. When you're doing the local venues, mix it up.
Right.
Absolutely mix it up.
So what's your key for connecting with the audience, especially one that doesn't know you and you don't know them?
I smile a lot, and my wife said, would you please open your eyes? I have like so many people, we just start closing our eyes. Try not to look at the instrument so much. Make eye contact with people. See how they react to what you're doing, whether it's a cover or whether it's your song, and see how they're reacting to it. Did they all of a sudden turn like this and start watching you, or are they still talking about the baseball game they saw last night?
Question.
You've got to, if that's what you're going to do, you've got to get that interaction. So I look around. I'm constantly. I call it working the room. And I'm constantly looking at the age group I'm playing to. I'm not really into a lot of this new stuff because that's just not where I'm at. You know,
Right.
I have gotten so much into the Americana songwriting and blues that I kind of whooshed it together. Now I call it the Americana Bluesman.
Okay.
And that's when they hit my website, they'll see that. They'll see your videos. They'll see the other videos I've got, but they're all pretty much professionally done. Almost every one of them. Getting back to the videos, you've got to present yourself. Don't look like you're a rat-tat kind of a guy. Just get up there and show, hey, this is it, and do your best that you can. And it's hard. It's hard because if you're doing it part-time and you just got done working 8 hours or a 10-hour day, and by the time you grab that guitar and start heading out, you're a little pooped. And there's times where my wife has turned to me, because I'm a lot older than I was. So
Somehow that happens,
she
right?
turned to me and she says, she looked, she says, I said, I'm out of here, I'm on my way out. So she says, wait a minute. And I turn around, she says, look at me. She says, you're not into this, are you? And I said, put a guitar around me, I'll be just fine. And I'll get it, because I'm thinking about 1,000 different things.
Right.
And I get to the venue, I'm all set up. When it comes time, off I go.
You're in the moment.
I'm in that time, and get
Right.
out of my way.
In the present.
But a lot of people lack that. They lack the drive because they just want things handed to them.
And you said earlier, it's important to have fun, no matter what you're doing
Oh,
as an
yeah.
artist.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. There's some fun. There's
And
some
not
fun
to take
things.
yourself so seriously. You know, even if you're trying to make it as a career, there's got to be
Yeah.
an element of
Yeah,
this is fun.
When the compliments start coming firing in, it's very difficult for me to accept that.
Right.
Because I have to stay focused on doing what I'm doing, the way I like, here it comes, you know. And when these people come up to me, you know, well, I'm a little shocked when they say, you know, oh my goodness, that song, I think it was the Willow that I played at a festival. And they came up to me and go, that reminded me so much of when I used to listen to Gordon Lightfoot, because there was a story behind it. And then I was at another music festival where I was introducing this new song called The Dutchman's Curve, which is on Rib Shack Blues. And it's written about a very bad train disaster that happened back in 1918 in the United States between Nashville and Memphis. And what happened was, there's the storyline through there, and this one lady grabbed my arm. My set was done, and we're walking off the stage, hands got me, and this one lady grabbed my elbow, and she says, that reminded me so much of Gordon Lightfoot. And I said, really? She says, well, the story that you created behind it. She says, and then she brought up something. So my song brought up a memory that she had of when her husband, who was in either the Navy or Merchant Marines or something, was on the dock the day that the Edmund Fitzgerald pulled out. He was there, and they said that ship should have not left that port. and it was hours later.
Yes.
And so something that I wrote
Had an impact.
had that kind of an impact that not only did it remind her of Gordon Lightfoot, it reminded her of her personal thing with her husband
Right.
all those years ago.
And isn't that what songwriting's all about? though?
And brought up an historic event when the Edmund Fitzgerald went down. So I go, yeah, okay. I kind of got the idea. So the flame, somebody put the pilot light and went and turned it on high. Here I go.
Yeah,
I go.
right. So you have 2 albums.
The two current ones. Yeah.
Right, Rib Shack Blues and On the Shoulders of Giants.
Right.
How recent are both of those?
Rib Shack Blues was just at the end of last year released.
Okay.
On the Shoulders of Giants was the year before.
Okay, so you've written some pretty powerful music.
Yeah.
But
And there's another one coming out that
great.
it's not going to be ready yet, but this one's definitely going to be a little bit more bluesy. I'm going to
Right.
be using the resonator a lot more.
So it sounds like, these 2 albums and the new one coming out is really a testament of your journey through music, where you've learned lessons and you've learned what works, what doesn't work, what to do, what not to do. And you're in your prime at this time of your life.
Yeah. One thing I can say to some of the younger guys that are in the game now is if your style of music requires you to play, say in a very comfortable coffee house kind of environment. Let's just pick something. If your style of music reflects coffee house kind of style, don't book yourself in a pool hall. Don't book yourself in a place that doesn't. You're wasting your valuable time.
Right.
If that's the kind of venue that you and the style of music that you like, then you should be going to those venues. Get involved with a lot of festivals and things where you can play your own music. There's a bunch of them. I have not seen lately so many more festivals that have hit the road. I mean, there's so many festivals in Florida alone. There's one going on this weekend, and there's another one next weekend. I said, my goodness, they're popping up all over the place.
And you don't have a hard time getting in. You just got to make the connection.
You got to make the connection. You get on the phone and talk to somebody. Don't email and don't, one thing with the emails, if you've got a business address on an email, like I do with 3 Dog Music, a lot of folks, their email won't accept it.
Interesting.
They're thinking it's a scam thing because it's a business email. So use your personal one if you have one.
Got it.
If not, get on the phone.
Right.
It's going to take you back and forth a couple of hours to go back and forth with whoever's booking the acts, whoever's this, and then they get busy. It may not be till the next day. You get me on the phone, I'm closing the deal in 5 minutes. We're either going to say, yeah, you're a perfect fit, or that's not the style of music we want. So don't go there.
No.
Okay? It's same thing again, if you're doing coffee house kind of stuff, don't go to a blues club. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Right.
You want that energy level for what you do. So stay out of the venues that you don't mix with.
So basically, artists need to know where they belong as far as their music, their genre, their style, and to not give up.
You got to get married to it.
Right, not give up and make it, your heart center, so to speak.
And of course now with the nominations, with ISSA and on their radio station that they have, and then you folks putting it out, and I get a lot of ground, You got to make contacts with people, ask questions, ask a lot of questions. Remember when we were kids, they would always say, there's no stupid question.
Right.
Always ask questions. So that's the biggest thing. Come out looking like you're worth what you're doing.
I love that. So what are your plans for the future?
Keep going. Because there's new adventure with a lot more advertising than I'm doing now. But I'm doing target advertising.
Okay.
I'm advertising in magazines and in online, whatever you want to call them, online magazines, let's just say.
Digital.
Digital. Of what the style of music is that I'm playing.
Right.
so I'm not wasting time. So then I get called for the opening act slots. So I've got a big one coming up in July, and that's going to be loads of fun because I got to open up for quite a few people. And the first one I was scared to death because I was opening up for Leon Russell. A mutual friend of ours said, look, you can open up if you want to do it. I go, well, for who? And he said, Leon Russell. I said, Leon Russell? The Leon Russell who played with the Stones and George Harrison, Joe Cocker, and not to mention his own tunes. So we're sitting in the green room, and I am not focused at all. And this guy comes in who booked it, and he had a smile on his face and he passed away from cancer. And I always think of him constantly whenever I'm doing an act like that, because he said something to me that will always stay with me. I was nervous. It was my first really big opening act, and I'm going to open for Leon Russell. And I said, oh my God. I'm sitting back, and he looked at me, and his smile lit the room up. He had this positive energy. And he says, what's the matter, Bill? And I said, I'm about to open for Leon Russell. Leon Russell. He says, that man puts his pants on the same way you do. Get out there.
Good for him.
And we tore the roof off the place.
Good.
And the nervousness, everything went away as soon as I hit that guitar, because I was on electric back then. As soon as I hit that guitar and we were off and running, and that crowd fed back to us like that, I said, hello, here we go. And then from then, every time I get an opening act, I think of Chip and what he said to me. That, hey, that person put his pants on the same way you did. Get out there. And that's just before I take the stage. So all those little things that people can say to you
can make a difference.
It makes a difference. It does.
Yes.
There's no can. It does make the difference. It's just flabbergasting. I mean, you just sit back and you go, "That's, I just did that." You know, that's incredible. Yeah. And when I was at Metro Park in Jacksonville during the Jazz Festival, and it was like a 9-piece band, 10-piece band, horn section, and the whole bit. And I was the guitar player in the band. And you know what? You've been to Metro Park. You know where the sound thing is way out in the middle of the field.
Right.
Well, it's nighttime, and it was just a sea of black. It looked like a monolith, except for the people that were right up front.
Right.
They let me cut loose on a solo in B flat.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, guitar players, we don't play in flat keys. we want sharp keys.
Right.
We don't play in flat keys. Those are for horns. Leave us alone.
Right.
And they let me go in B flat. And I never rehearse. I never rehearse songs. I'll sketch over them to see where they're going, but I will never beat a song from start to finish over and over and over again. You become stale doing that. I have to have that bit of push behind me, that bit of energy level that says, hey, these people are looking at you. Don't screw this up.
Right.
You know? So I get out there, the spotlight's on me, I am playing the solo, I am on. You could have run up, moved my fingers around the neck, and I still would have sounded cool. And then when I played those last couple of notes and I slammed it and the crowd went, I turned around and I went, yes, that's it. And I was all goose pimply and I said, yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. You got to have that energy.
Right.
I'm not the one that sits on the bar stool and just, tinker. That's what I mean. That there's the recreational players and then there's the pros.
Right.
And you want to be a pro. So get off your sofa. Get your act together, hit the targets that you should be hitting, and listen to the people that are there. Listen to them. Because I was a little 10-year-old kid in the Bronx, and I ended up on the stage in Clarksdale, Mississippi on Ground Zero. Are you kidding me?
Right.
And I said, it wasn't an ego booster. It was a confidence booster. I didn't say anything, not even to my wife driving back to Tunica where we were staying. I said, I'm going to have a beer and I'll be in a little while. The next morning I had a cup of coffee. I was sitting outside, gorgeous day just like this. And I said, what in the hell happened last night? Why did those people who did not know me from Adam, and then I'm playing a style of music that it was sink or swim time. This is it. Bill, they're either going to go crazy or they're going to get the hook. And when I won those people over, I said, that was the confidence builder I needed. That was it. I set out to do something, I did it, and I nailed it. Yes. And that's what the drive isn't in. These guys get up, they grab a guitar, and they just ka-dunk, 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 ka-dunk. And you can't do that.
Well, especially in today's environment, because there's so much competition out there.
You don't need to
so
be showy.
People, yeah.
You just need to have that persona on you that I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that next chord is going to be a D chord. You don't have to guess. My pet peeves, I know we've been carrying on for a while, but my pet peeves though are, and I've seen, you don't want me in the audience. Because I've heard things like, I just put these, this is live. I just put these strings on the guitar. I hope they stay in tune.
Oh my gosh.
I just wrote this song and finished it later this afternoon. I think I remember all the words.
Wow.
I followed somebody like that. And he said, I've done this with the band, but I've never played it acoustically before.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, you're killing my crowd. People were getting up, walking out. This guy had a list of excuses before he sang note one.
Wow.
Now, was he good? He was okay, but he lost the crowd.
Yeah.
He lost the crowd. I had to get him back somehow, and I'm playing that set, and all of a sudden people started coming back in.
Okay.
But this is my first festival that I did years ago. I'm walking down the sidewalk after my set. I've got the guitar in a gig bag because the big cases, they get pretty heavy. Mm-hmm. So I've got it in a gig bag right by. People, I just caught your act. They're shaking my hand. They thought I was Eric Clapton or somebody, you know what I mean? I go, wow, look at the response I'm getting, and I'm outside on the sidewalk. Oh, we went in, we saw what you did, you know, that was great. But some of these guys or females would just have a list of things that they should not be talking about.
Right.
When they're trying to win the crowd over.
And that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
You should be ready when they go.
Yeah.
And do it. If not, step aside and let somebody else in. If you're going to play in certain venues, and they're being real stinkers about this now, it's always been a law, but they would never always enforce it. But more and more venues are enforcing it now. Not only do you need to get a business license, you need insurance. You need liability insurance. Should I mention the name? Or I shouldn't. I shouldn't mention the name of the insurance company. You can go online and look up musicians insurance.
Okay.
And I ended up with a $2 million liability insurance. God forbid you've got your gear coming up, and you know there's in every room somebody's had one too many martinis.
Right.
If they come up to ask you for a song and they trip on your chord, it's not the venue that's responsible.
It's you.
It's you. It's your gear, your equipment.
Got it.
If you should get rained on, if somebody should damage your gear, you know, or if it gets stolen.
Right.
More and more venues, and I just had one in St. Augustine. Can you send us a proof of insurance?
That's a good point.
So they're doing that now.
Wow.
It's always been there. It's always been there. But now they're really enforcing it because they don't want to get caught with their pants down.
Okay, so how can people find you?
They can go on I've got, oh my God. I'm on YouTube. Just look up Americana Bluesman.
Okay.
I'm on there. There's my website, which is 3dogmusic.com. I've got my secondary website because that's another point. If you're trying to do something, a lot of times I use my main website as an information page. But if you're trying to send somebody some information, do an electronic press kit.
An EPK. Right.
So what that all is basically a stripped down version of your website. So all the stuff on Three Dog Music or BillRicci.com, you can go to either way. That's all, you know, a lot of information, more of a lengthy kind of thing. But when you use the BillRicciEPK.com, that's the electronic press kit. And those are the types of things that you send to somebody, because you're trying to impress this club owner or venue owner, whatever it is, or even manage some sort of management. That this is what I do. They're not going to sit there
and look through your website.
Listen to it. It was like the old days when we used to send, you know, well, send us a song, you know. They would send the whole thing to them. Well, they're not going to read it. They're not going to listen to the whole thing. They go like that. You got to capture them. And so when you do that condensed version of a website, the electronic press kit, that's extremely better. Extremely better.
So where's your music streamed? Like Spotify and
it's on.
any of those?
Some of them I don't even know, because I hire somebody to do it.
Got it.
All right, I can't waste my time. That's all too much technology. So it's on Amazon Music, it's on Spotify, YouTube Music. It's on 25 different music download sites.
Wow. And those are all, they can find those on your website?
They can find them on the website.
Or EPK.
They can just pull up my name, and they can find me on Spotify.
Excellent.
And all this other stuff.
Awesome.
I mean, it's everywhere. In the old days, we used to knock on doors. Can you play our song?
Right, yeah, that doesn't happen
Get
now.
out of here. You needed somebody to represent you.
Right.
Now, because of the internet, this morning when I got up, I'm looking at my phone. There were 4 people from Ohio on my website. There were 4. I've had people from Lebanon, France, Ireland.
Wow. Have you been
Portland, Oregon.
Have you been invited overseas yet?
No, I have a problem with that.
Oh.
The problem is getting me into an airplane.
Oh, okay.
That's the problem I have.
Maybe take a cruise ship over.
I'd have to take either the Queen Elizabeth II or the Queen Mary II. There's a problem getting Bill into an airplane.
Okay, got it. Understood.
And you'd have to pass that beverage car around several times.
Well, Bill, this has been awesome. Thank you, and I look
appreciate
forward
you
to
doing
doing
this.
this again. And
Do
we're
we have
coming
enough tape
from.
to do it
I
again?
think
That's
so.
what I wanna
I
know.
think so. And we're actually coming from Manatee Hammock Campground in Titusville, Florida. So you might have heard some things in the background, but it's been a gorgeous day. Great interview. Thank you, and we'll do this again.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you and
Bill.
Trevor for having me. This
You're
is great.
welcome. Yes.
Reach over, baby, hand me my shoes. I went down to the Rib Shack for some low-down dirty blues. The joint was jumping and feeling kind of tight. Ladies were dancing and looking really nice. Guys shooting pool and 2 got in a fight. The bartender said, now break it up and leave it tonight. You know it's true, 'cause there's nothing I can do but sit back in the shack with some low-down dirty blues. The band was leaving, the sun was coming up. Paid my tab and I got myself up. I got home and I laid down my head till the sun went down and it started over again. Reach over, baby, now and hand me my shoes. I'm going back to the Rib Shack for some low-down dirty blues.